Hey guys, welcome to Coding After 30. Let me know if you guys could hear me. I just want to say welcome to everybody who's joining again. Because we're just starting out, we're just gonna say hello, see how you guys doing, let a bunch of people join the stream. But today I want to talk about struggling through learning to code and the challenges that we all face and why it's really difficult. It's very hard to get your first job, make a difference, and I talked to a lot of different people and everybody gives me their own path. And after listening to many people, I realized there is no one set formula that's going to get you there. But one thing that a lot of people had that has been consistent is this idea that they weren't going to quit until they got their job. That means they were going to do whatever it takes. If they make mistakes in the way, they're going to figure out what was causing them, what was going on, and they were going to tweak their steps to make sure they get there. And so with that being said, in this show, I want to talk about struggling through learning to code, but at the same time, why you guys should continue with this journey and the reasons why that, unless you don't want to do it, that's different. But if you do want to do it, don't give up. And we could talk about how to get there, how to make the difference that's going to get you hired. But more importantly, don't quit the process and make sure that you're doing the work that will get you there. So that's what I want to talk about. So you guys say hello in the comments. Let me know if my audio is loud or not loud, if the music's too loud or not loud enough. Let me know. And I definitely just want to have a great fun stream as always. But with that being said, listen guys, the most important reason why I do these streams is because I want to hear your opinions. I want to hear and have a conversation with you. So let me know in the comments the things that you want to talk about. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But with that being said, when you're looking to switch careers like I had to do, or maybe you're brand new and you just know you want to get into web development, but you're not going this transitional route, the hardest thing is to know what to learn, and then to know what you're learning is it going to help you get a job, or what do you have to do to get a job? Like, what does it take? And if you're doing it on your own and you don't have any like role models or any mentors that are telling you how they did it or the steps that they took, it's kind of hard to find your own way. It's like walking through a dark room with your eyes closed and just trying to get there through feeling. You're like, oh, where is it? Where is this the door? Is this what I need to do? And so that's the reason for this channel, this idea for this community, and the whole point why I want to talk to you guys, because I want to tell you, at least from my experience, how I was able to break into the field late in my 30s. I literally got my first job at 39 years old. So you might be younger, you might be older than I am, but what I'm saying is that with the right commitment, with the right steps, and a lot of perseverance, you guys will be able to get there. But the goal is to make sure that you're not giving up, to make sure that you're pushing through. And one thing that stood out for me, I was wondering, why did I not quit? Why did I continue to learn to code? Because I really believe that once you become good, once you get that initial experience, which could be very difficult when you're starting out, but once you learn to code, once you have a good portfolio, once you start making connections with other people, and that's the whole point of why I started YouTube to begin with, is to kind of put myself out there as a developer, talking about development stuff, sharing some of the code I write, showing the things I'm doing to kind of build this kind of authority like that I'm the developer, this is what I do, and kind of move my life in that direction. What's up, DJ Norris? Good to see you. I hope you're doing great. I'm gonna finish the editing of the podcast we did. I know I keep telling you, and the reason why I tell you live is so I have to hold myself accountable. But I did do a great demo at my job, and so I still have a job after August 6th, which is fantastic. But that's happening, but more about that later. But the whole point that I'm trying to say is that you have to stay committed on your path, and you have to do the work that is required. You can't just try, and then if something doesn't go your way, quit. It doesn't happen to you guys. And one of the reasons why I talk about the reality of learning to code, I talk about the hardship, the hard work, the failure, the struggle, it's because that's the reality of achieving your goal of trying to do something. Hey, Logic Indy, good to see you, my man. Hey, thanks, DJ Norris, and I know, but I do want to hold myself accountable because I think there's a really good podcast. I want to make sure that people do want to do the freelancing stuff. That's probably a good way to definitely do it. But more on that later. But guys, don't be shy. Say hello in the comments. If you haven't smashed the like button this early in the podcast, just smash it, and hopefully it'll be a good podcast today. But the point, what I'm trying to say, is that the journey is hard. The reality of switching careers is difficult. The reality getting into a career is difficult because the competition, I'm not saying there's no jobs available, but there is a competition. And so if your portfolio doesn't meet the standards, it's going to be very hard. Like, one thing that I find at my job currently is that every time I am being challenged by solving harder problems. And so I'm realizing that a lot of the previous portfolio projects I did, they weren't doing the most important part, or at least they weren't showcasing the most important part of my skill. And the part is your ability to solve problems and create your own logic to kind of, if they present a problem for you, how are you going to set up the logic for the UI to communicate with database where there's like 5 different screens that rely on the same data point, and how are you going to make changes in one and have all those changes populate everywhere else? So you have to write that logic, and that comes through experience. It comes through the practice of programming. So the struggle is real, and we do our best to get to where we want to go. And the point of this channel is that I just want to tell you the truth of my experience. And I'm not saying my experience is going to be your experience, but it was hard for me to get my first job. And that's why I take it really seriously, try to give advice to you guys and tell you that don't give up, do your best, but you're always going to feel like it's hard. You're always going to feel it's impossible. But I'm going to tell you this, that other things are also impossible. The easiest thing to do is to continue. Like, I'm not saying this is where you guys are. And I want to also preface this. You might live in a country where you might have the skill, you might have the knowledge. There's just not enough jobs and not enough opportunity. Like, for instance, like in India, there's so many people that have, master degrees, but they still have a hard time getting jobs because everybody in India has master degrees. Now, that's a generalization, right? But I'm just going to say that might be the situation for you. So before I continue, let's say to you guys hello in the comments. Chris says, what's up, Paul? Love your content. I usually watch your live streams at work after it's over, but want to show my support by catching it live. Well, Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And, that's why I record these streams so you guys can watch them anytime. But I really appreciate your support because I am some dude on the internet, that broke into the field of development and whose goal is to consistently become a better developer, because I feel that that's how you keep your job. You become the best developer you can. Like, I don't want to, be a YouTuber where my coding suffers. I want to be a programmer first. I want to make sure that I have a good path at my job and my career, that I could work anywhere, get jobs easier. I want that to be my security. And my YouTube, if it ever makes money, makes money. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make money. But the point is, if you want to be a good developer, you got to do programming. You got to be coding. You got to be stepping up your game. You got to be doing that stuff. And we have Hamza Codes. Hey, $30 an hour is a good offer in NYC. And if that's like, in New York City, it's a good starting point. But to survive, like, let's do some quick math here for a second. What is that a year? Let me get my trusty calculator because that's how I do math. I calculate it on my phone calculator. So $30 an hour, assuming you work 30 hours a week times 4 times 12. Wait, do I suck at math? Is that what is happening? 30 times 40. So that's 1,200 a week. There's 4 weeks times 12. So you're making about 57,000 around. So that's like, if you would have to do with roommates, and you would have to basically be very frugal if you're living in the city on that amount. Like, to be without roommates, it'll be almost impossible. Like, I think like you want to make at least 80 grand if you're going living in the city. But if it's a first job, $30 an hour, and you have to live in the city, just find some roommates. And that's not a bad gig, because it's not like you're going to be paid $30 an hour forever, and it's not impossible. If you have roommates, you're frugal, you don't crazily spend your money, yeah, I think you'll be fine. And that's awesome if that's offer you got to kind of get started, break into the field. but New York is expensive, and hence that's one of the reasons I moved to Texas, because Texas, even though Austin itself could be very expensive comparatively to New York living, the city, it's not as expensive. And then if you live slightly outside of Austin, you could find really good deals for rent and stuff like that. So, talk about struggling to code. Let me know your struggles. Let me know what you feel is holding you back from making progress, because I feel like, there's so many different people, and I'm sure there's even a lot of people that don't even, communicate on YouTube. They just, put their, like work in their nose to the books. They continue studying and they just do what it takes to get a job. But sometimes, like, it's very difficult. Like I was saying earlier, if you're just joining in and you didn't smash the like button, come on, smash the like button. But like I said earlier, sometimes we don't know what it is that we need to get a job. And a lot of times we think about, when we're building portfolios, and I made the same mistakes. I didn't know this either, because when I first started out, I just made whatever. I made like stupid project that, weren't even working, and I would put them in my portfolio. And that's all common mistakes, especially when you don't have a kind of like direction to go to. And so figuring this out, it's very difficult. Yeah, let me respond to this. Yeah, after tax is going to be like 20 to 22 bucks an hour. Yeah, it's 100% true. So like I said, it's still doable, but you will need roommates, and maybe find not the most expensive place in the city. But like I'm saying, if that's like your first job and your like opportunity to build the experience, and like I'll say this, like you have to think about it like it's a decision you have to make. But to live in New York, that's going to be really tough. But if you wanna suffer a little bit and kind of get that experience, because after 6 months working there, you could switch to another job that's going to pay significantly more. I mean, it might be worth it. Me personally, I would not move to New York. So 3 months, you know what, with a 3 months I was going to say, me personally, I wouldn't move to New York on that type of amount, because it'll be very difficult. But I would just move somewhere cheaper. But if you have no choice and you have to move and live in New York, and because it's a 3 months contract, I would totally do it and live with roommates, and just spend that time, upping my game, using that experience to put on my resume. And then after 3 months, like, try to find another job. But if you get roommates and only commit like for rent for 3 months, I don't think it's going to be that terrible. After 3 months, you could rethink where you are and move on. But what I'm curious about, and it's like I need to get more data set of, like I need to ask like 1,000 people who are looking to switch careers, and kind of see what's the percentage of the 1,000 people that been doing self-taught route, let's say 1 year to 2 years, how many of them actually reach and the point where they were able to get a job and get hired. Because we need more data, because a lot of people that I talk to, and I say this a lot in some of my other streams, and like when you're getting hired, there's this idea, like recruiters or people that gonna, like hiring manager, whoever, they have a certain expectations of what they want to see of your portfolio. And if your portfolio is here, you're never going to get hired if you can't at least meet what they're looking for. So a lot of times, if let's say you're building portfolio projects, like here's the short of it, like there's three things that could be like stopping you from getting a job. And I'm going to start with like the most obvious one. You don't know how to code. Like I've been there. I still like sometimes feel, because of the imposter syndrome, I don't know what I'm talking about. But number one, like if you don't know how to code, like you're not going to get a job. It is just a fact. But if you know how to code and you're feeling comfortable building your own projects, which if you have to build projects from scratch, it's one of the most important things you could start today. You have to do it today. Don't wait until you feel like you're good enough. You have to start building your own projects. And that's why I started the very unprofessional Tuesday, 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time live stream, where we're doing exactly that. We're building a project, a cornerstone project that, based on what I think you need to know to be able to, without a doubt, show somebody that you know how to code, to be able to get hired. Because you have to have that ability to know how to code. Number two is this idea of like, your portfolio is just not good enough, right? Your portfolio is just not good. You might have like 15 projects, and 10 of those projects are basically same thing that you built before, just with slightly different look and feel. But the functionality, your level of complexity doesn't rise with that, and that's going to hurt you as well, because you need to be looking to solve higher level problems. And if you build one project, do not build the same thing again. You basically have to do like, I built one project, your next project has slightly more complex logic, slightly different features, then your other project has even higher features and more complex stuff that you're trying to figure out, and you raise your bar in level of not quantity but complexity, because that is what is going to eventually up your game to a point where when people see your portfolio, they're going to be like, okay, this guy knows or this girl knows what they're doing, and they're going to be able to get a job. That's very important. Now, if you guys, I just talked to a girl, she has an amazing YouTube channel, and she just got a job not too long ago working for Vercel. And Vercel, they do a lot of hiring. And after briefly talking to her, and I do want to make a video with her, and I will in the future. She's really cool, really awesome, has a lot of cool things to say. And what I was impressed, like, she's not in the category that I'm in, where it's like people in their late 30s trying to get a job. She's like in her 20s. But the way she thought about how to position herself to be able to get a job is very smart. And so I'd love to have the conversation with her, and I'll let you guys know when that happens. But like, I was amazed that she realized that you need to build stuff from scratch yourself, and also this idea of networking. And she ended up using Twitter to help her start reaching out to the community. Like, I like LinkedIn better, like Twitter. I should use Twitter. I just suck at Twitter. But this idea of, like, you know, make sure you build your own projects that constantly rise in complexity. Number one, like, definitely know what you're doing. And obviously that's kind of like, how do you judge that? And we could talk about that more, and let me know in the comments what you guys think and what we should talk about. And again, we talk about the struggle is real. Learning to code is hard. And so how do you work through the struggle with learning to code as a web developer? How do you do it? That's what I want to talk about. That's the communication I want to have. But this idea of making sure that you're building things from scratch and you're raising the complexity of your application is super important, because you don't want to just, the process of getting jobs shouldn't be like I throw a bunch of darts, or I throw my resume to a bunch of different companies and I get a response yes or no. Like, it has to be much a proactive response. But what I wanted to say, like, the only reason I brought her up, besides it's going to be an amazing conversation when I do talk to her, and I think you guys will be, like, she told me about the hiring process of Vercel. And so, like, it's the guys that made Next.js. And what I would say, go on their job board and see if they have positions available, because the coolest thing that she told me about it, the interview process, I think it's amazing. So when you go to apply for a job there, what they do is they do an interview with you, and they basically try to get a feel of what you're good at, what are your best skills, what are your best assets. And then instead of just saying, okay, you're going to get this senior developer job, they basically, based on your experience with them through the interview, they see if they have a role that's available for you. And it might not be the developer job that you wanted, but it might be something that's relevant in development, you know, and that might be a good way for you guys to check out and try. But the point that I'm saying is that it's not easy, it's difficult, and all of you guys who follow this channel, like, that should not be a surprise to you. You don't come here to hear about, like, oh, you know, Paul, you know, says like he coded for 3 months and then he made $1 bajillion. It's just not how it works. It's very hardcore. So guys, I do want to talk about, like, the struggle when learning to code. And obviously I have opinion about everything that I say, but I'd love to hear some of the things that you struggle with and some of the things that you feel you need to improve, or you feel like maybe they're not up to par. But one of the struggles in learning to code is that when we think about learning to code, I think this is an important point, so I'm going to make it here by saying this is an important point, and this is something very, very, like, important, because we forget it and we don't think about it. So a lot of times we do our tutorials, and this is not even talking about the fact that you should be building your own projects from scratch, but we think that coding alone is going to get us hired. And so we just practice coding, and that's just a part of the job. Another part of the job is understanding the bigger picture of programming. How do you work on the team? How do you use GitHub, you know, to commit your code when you're working on the team. You know, having good communication skills, all of that is important. And a lot of times, you know, we might know how to code, but when we go to the interview and when we get more of those general questions like, well, how would you solve this problem working on a team, or like whatever, we might not have a good answer for that. So it's very important to keep that in mind. And that's why I tell people, like, when I hear people tell me they got a job really quickly, maybe they did, because there's definitely like outliers, but you know, that just amazingly like stuff just works for them. But after like my journey and my studying and me going in, like, I have code reviews every day at my job for the code that I write. I feel so stressed out because I'm like, how do people get into this field? Because it's very difficult. Like how were you able to learn that in 3 months? Just like the tech that I use at my job, we use React, we use JavaScript, CSS, we use React Bootstrap, we use GraphQL, we use a bunch of other stuff. Like, you have to be familiar with GitHub and making it, like, being able to like make sure that when you commit a branch, you do a pull request. When the pull request is like accepted, what do you do when you have multiple branches? Like how to rebase stuff to make sure that you're not like breaking stuff in master. Like when you're trying to merge stuff, it's just so much stuff that to me it blows my mind when people say in 3 months you could get all that. I think in 3 months you could get to a point when you had prior experience. Like if you coded on your own for like 2-3 years, you went to boot camp for 3 months, then maybe that's a different story. And so like the reality is, if you're brand new, starting from scratch, it is a lot of stuff to learn, and you have to understand that that's normal. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. When you're learning to code, the struggle is going to be hard because it's there. Programming is hard. Like even Ben Awad, who's amazing like programmer, he has a good YouTube channel, he even said it, that programming is hard, because it is. Like there's a reason why people go to computer science degree, like to get a computer science degree, and some of the concepts that they learn there, because it's important to programming. And when you're self-taught, not saying that you can't learn those things on your own, like just understand what's like, if computer science degree helps to get a job as a developer, like what makes you think that as a self-taught developer that somehow equates a computer science degree, unless you build an amazing portfolio, you are able to talk about code, you know what you're doing, you keep studying and keep building from scratch, you show by example that you're able to solve complex problems, then it's like, okay, he might not have a computer science degree, but he understands what he's doing. You know what I mean? And so that's how you bring your level up. But you always, like, it's like that song, level up, level up, level up. You constantly have to work about this idea of leveling up. And so when I have this YouTube channel, and like, again, I just want to spread this message that learning to code is hard and you constantly have to level up. And the reason why I feel like I have to repeat all that stuff is because a lot of people come to me and they say, I still can't get a job. And level up, level up, level up, level up. It's like kind of what you have to do. And I know it sounds like so dumb to say it, but that's where I found myself. There's a period where nobody was giving me a chance. No one was trying to interview me. There's many reasons why, but one of the main reasons for that was that I sucked. I couldn't build anything on my own. And so I would be a terrible person to get hired. Even let's say I got lucky and got hired. First week on the job, people would see like I have no having idea what I'm doing, and I would have gotten fired. So like you do need to have the skill. And my answer, DJ Norris is gonna give his opinion, which I really appreciate. After getting a job after 2.5 months, is I didn't really know any of that. Just had a basic familiar with a lot of concepts. And you know, DJ Norris, like what people don't know about you is that you're a very disciplined, hardcore individual. I'm gonna say it to you because I don't want you to post like stuff like this and give people the wrong idea, because I know you and I know the work ethic you have, and then the follow-up statement here and a portfolio that showed what I could do. Yes, and that is very important. So DJ Norris could be like, yes, I got a job after 2.5 months. I didn't really know any of that other stuff, but what I knew is a lot of concepts. So, and then he had a portfolio to show that, first of all, his work ethic is retarded. Like, I'm gonna tell you this, like the stuff that you doesn't know, he'll spend like a weekend, 20 hours in a like row and figure it out. Like that's how he operates. Like if you tell DJ Norris something is impossible, he's gonna give you the finger and he's gonna do it anyway, because that's the mentality he has, and that's why he was able to get to where he's going. And he's more motivated and focused even than I am. And like I'm like 80% motivated, and he's probably like 500% motivated. So like what I want to say, like there's outliers, there's individuals, but what I would not take away from DJ Norris, whatever his story is that he did it through hard work. He didn't just do the bare minimum. Like if he put that code, like that comment up right now, and he said, I did the bare minimum and I was able to get a job and I didn't really push for it, then I would be upset and jealous and probably like needing to like shake him, be like, what the hell? How did that happen? Because for me, it was a struggle. For me, it was hard work. For me, it was like a lot of like sleepless nights. And guys, if you don't like, you got to build stuff on your own. Like it took me forever. I was in developer hell for like God knows how long. I have over 350 courses on Udemy. I spent over like $4,000 on course, and I only took like finished maybe 10 courses out of the 350 that I have. And I realized that continuing to do courses on Udemy is after like, if you did 10 courses on Udemy, that's already too much. Like 4 courses on Udemy, okay, great. If you did 10 courses on Udemy from start to finish, it's already too much. You don't need any more courses. You just need to build stuff on your own. So if you're struggling because your answer to getting a job is like, I need to take more Udemy courses, like what are you doing? If you don't have your own project that you're building, like that's insane. Like you need to struggle through failure, and you have to work on figuring out like issues and solve those problems on your own. Because like let me give you an example. Like the other day I'm having a meeting at work, and we're talking about the stuff that our application has to do, right? I'm looking because I want to find our Discord link, because I want to share with you guys, so you guys jump on Discord and kind of go here. And I appreciate DJ Norris clearing some stuff up for us here. Yeah, 120-hour weeks for a year straight. See, like look at that. Like that's retarded, insane commitment. And I use retarded like as a compliment, like because it's like I'm please YouTube don't demonetize me. I don't mean it. Like I'm a 1980s kid. You know, that word had different meaning to us when we were growing up. So the point I'm saying is that you have to ask yourself, are you really putting massive effort in, not in just general, but into the right things that are going to get you hired? And so here's the link to our Discord. Go join it, like so we could talk more, have the community talk to you guys. I think it's very important. By the way, you know, we have a live stream on Tuesday. It's very unprofessional. I make a lot of mistakes, but it's the reality of how you go about building a cornerstone project. And we're building a complex project. And so see that stream. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's our Tuesday coding party night, project night, whatever I decided to call it. You could see it on our channel. And here we go. Creative Rod. I'm on course 9. Listen, bro, like he does it, the face palm. I appreciate it, but you know what? That's what we all do, because we don't have it. Like if I was selling courses, I would not tell you that you need, like I would tell you, okay, you're on course 9, you need 4 of these other courses to bring you up to course 13, and you have to buy them because I sell courses. There's nothing wrong with selling courses. And one day, listen, I'm going to one day sell courses, but I'm going to tell you, look, if you have already 10 courses and you didn't get anywhere, don't buy my courses, because you're still not going to get anywhere, because the reality. And I think I'm going to make a course on how to not take courses after your first 6 or 5 initial ones. I mean, this is ridiculous, but you do have to build stuff from scratch on your own. And coming back to the story I was trying to tell you, I'm at the meeting, talking to my boss, and they just tell me, like, they're talking about how our application has to build. And, you know, I'm like, well, the question is like, how do I build that thing? And you know what the answer is? It's on me to figure it out. And that's why I keep telling you guys, build projects from scratch, so you work the side of your brain that figures that stuff out. It's very important. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So guys, don't be shy in the comments. Like, I like my live streams. They're like a roller coaster. People jump on and people jump off. And it's fine. Don't care. I care about the people that stay. Like, look, there's so many people in the world. And by statistic, 80% of them are not going to make the commitment that is required to make the change in their life, right? That's why a lot of people still have debt. There's a reason why a lot of people still can't get the jobs that they want, because they're not willing to take the steps. Now, if you live in another country, that's different, because I know plenty of people like that have the skill. They just don't have an opportunity because they live in another country, and that's sad and that's messed up. America is not like that. UK is probably not like that. Like, you know, so for you guys, you have to understand that if you really want something badly enough, you have to do the work. You have to put in the effort, and it's on you to be able to do those things and figure those things out. So you might be thinking, I'm struggling to learning to code. I struggle to learn to code. 1,000 other people struggle to learn to code, right? So, and then you're like, I can't get a job. Well, I couldn't get a job. 1,000 other people couldn't get a job. But then something changed. Something happened. Was it their portfolio? Was it that their skill finally grew to the level where the expectation of the hiring manager and the skill was equal? Like, what was it? And then eventually those people got hired. I got hired. There's somebody else got hired. There's this girl, Katya, who been following this channel. She's trying to give me the credit for getting the job that she's got. And the credit like is on her because she did the work. She might have basically used the tips that I gave to construct a path for herself, and to have like this path of where she's like, you know what, I'm going to do what it takes, and I'm going to do those steps. I'm going to not get distracted. I'm going to put massive amount of effort. And then she got a job, and now she's working on being able to improve, make sure that she's able to continue to do her job. But that's how we all start. Like, I started my job, my first job. I had no idea how long I was going to keep it. Every day I thought I was going to get fired, and that lasted for a year and a half. I thought I was going to get fired for a year and a half, and then eventually I quit because I needed to move on to a better opportunity, because I outgrew the role that I was working at. And so now I work on another job, and as I work on a job, guess what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to level up my skill, level up my value that I could prevent to give to another company, and I'm constantly working on that. Big B 420, great to see you. Nice to have you jump on the stream today. We talk about the struggle of learning to code. I'm kind of ranting about this idea, how it's hard and how we all have to do massive amount of work. And like, guys, let me know if you are sick and tired of me telling you how hard things are. Like, let me know if you want me to tell you that it's easy. You want me to tell you that you just need to put bare minimum effort. You don't need to have one good cornerstone project. Like in my last live stream, I told you how don't waste your time building things that are not irrelevant for you getting hired. So if you're building tic-tac-toe app, how's that relevant for you to get a job? Like, if you want to make a big project which has, you know, all these different features, and one of the features is this table that has some sort of filtering mechanism, you know you're going to need that. So for a smaller project, build that table, build that like component, so then you learn what you need to be able to move forward. So, you know, one of the other reasons why we struggle, and let me know in the comments if this is like true for you, is that when we're starting out, we don't really have a direction. Like, how do you know, or what has been your process of choosing what to learn to help you get hired? So like, one of the things that we struggle with is with this idea of like, how do you get the job? Like, how do you know that the stuff you're learning is going to get you hired? And then how do you know how to present that yourself to be able to get hired, and all that other like jazz, like, you know what I'm saying? And so sometimes this lack of directions as a self-taught developer, and also this lack of mentorship, like, you don't know what you need to do to get hired, right? Like, for instance, if I want to get stronger at bench press, right, I would just do bench press. It's very self-explanatory, where with coding, it's a little bit much harder because there's so many different paths you could take, and which path is the best way? Which path is the easier? And the path that you're taking, do you even like what you're doing? I mean, like, so it's so easily to get overwhelmed and not be able to go where we're going. And if you didn't smash the like button, just because I'm crazy, smash the like button. Give this old man some love, you know what I'm saying? But also, if you don't like what I'm putting down in the stream, we have the comment section to talk about the stuff that is important to you guys. And so just throw it up in the comments, in the live comment section, and we'll talk about the things that are important to you guys. But getting development is hard. Everything is hard. It's not easy. And like, let me share. I'm realizing I'm yelling too loud. So let me tune down my volume a little bit so it's not breaking people's headphones when they're listening to their headphones. But this guy, he has an amazing channel, Andy Sterkowitz. Let me share my screen. This guy, look at that look of frustration, you know, and you can go watch his video. Is it still possible to be a self-taught developer? And it was made July 6, 2021. And like, and there's a lot of different comments here, and I gave my 2 cents. But he's like basically says, look, because like, and I'm like, I could sense his frustration in the video because he's like, it's takes work. It's hard, and you have to understand it, and you have to just kind of work through it. And that's why I kind of love it. Like this like face he's making, it's like, oh God damn, like how many times do I have to tell you people, getting a development job is hard. It takes work. There's no easy secret, easy money. And there's trusty Google. That's what I'm meant to do. And so what I want to make sure that you understand, those of you guys who follow my channel, is that I want you guys to be the group of people that understand. Like, do you understand without doubt that you have to do work? Okay, you do know that you have to work, so commit. How many hours a day can you commit to this journey of leveling yourself up to get to where you have to go? And then once you figured it out and once you know what it is, you need to then figure out what is the right things that you have to learn to be able to make sure that your portfolio matches the requirements of like a hiring manager, and that you're building the skill that's in demand and the market wants. You can't just learn whatever. You need to learn the field that is in demand. And that's why I keep telling a lot of people, if you're starting out, and granted, if you have a path that you know is going to work for you, do that path. But for me, and right now, and for a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of people who were able to switch careers, React is still one of the best ways to get there. Become master of React, understand the big picture, understand JavaScript fairly well in terms of, you know, how to work with APIs, how to work and to talk to a database, even if you're implementing on the front end, how to implement CRUD application, knowing general like asynchronous JavaScript, you know, how to use async await or using then and catch statements. And so it's very important to kind of make sure that you get good, right? Like, let me tell you something. Let me just say this simple. Let's say your brakes broke on your car. Would you want someone to fix your brakes who never like doesn't know how to fix brakes? Or do you want someone to actually fix brakes that knows what they're doing, even though maybe you have to pay them a little bit more money? And that's a terrible example, but what I'm saying is that, like, I wouldn't take my car to somebody who was not a mechanic. So how would somebody hire you if you're not a developer? And let me tell you this, like I'm stupid. So let me Google this. What temperature? I type so slow when I think. Water boils. Let's take a look here. Let's switch. So what's the boiling point for water? Look, like a bunch of people just like left my stream. Fantastic. So because I'm gonna be dropping more truth bumps, and before like I do this, let me see. Hologram down checks. What's your process of learning how to implement features that you don't know anything about? Hit the docs. Yes, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. The process exactly, but you do hit the docs, and then you try to build a POC. And I'll talk about it in just a second. Let me make this point to kind of like let you know that we might be like, you could be busy, you could be doing a lot of work and still not get a job. And this next example is going to be the reason why. So water boils at 212 Fahrenheit. How do I know this? Is it because I'm super smart? No, it's because I use Google, right? And that's kind of like one of the lessons is like Google is your friend, reading the docs is your friends. So here's the thing. Like that, we know the water boils at 212 degrees. How is this relevant? Celsius, 100 degrees Celsius. I was talking about Fahrenheit. Listen, let's use Celsius. So can water boil under 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, so if you put pressure into it, then it's gonna make it different. But let's do like, let's see, in space you can boil out without supplying any heat at all. Okay, so this example is gonna be super stupid because apparently there are certain conditions where that happens. Okay, so let's kind of say we're on Earth. I'm in my kitchen for the sake of example. So the answer is no, and we won't even use 90. We use 50 like Celsius. Would water boil at your kitchen at 50% Celsius if the boiling point is 100 Celsius? No, it won't. It will not boil. It's just not going to. Unless you put more effort into that heat, turn on the water, it's not going to boil. And here's the thing. A lot of us, we never hit that boiling point. Our portfolio is never good enough for recruiters or our coding like standards. We might think we're awesome, but like I don't decide if I'm good at coding. The hiring manager decides if I'm good at coding. You know what I'm saying? If I got the job, I had the skill to be able to get hired. So here's the thing, like we never hit that boiling point with our project. We're just below. This is the boiling point. This is our portfolio requirement. And we're here. We could be here for years, because we're not putting in that effort that's going to turn up the heat and bring us to that boiling point for us to be able to get that job. And so if you don't get there, if you don't put that effort into it, God damn it, we're not going to get a job. And I know this because I couldn't get a job. And so this is ending up being like a super rant type of live stream. And that's because I want you guys, let us know in the comments. And I'm going to come back to hologram nunchucks in just a moment. And let's see this like just dropping some knowledge here. Lower, because he works at NASA, that's how he knows this stuff. So lower atmosphere or pressure would equal lower boiling point. High pressure equals high boiling point. See? Smart guy over here working at NASA. Super awesome. Again, I'm just teasing DJ Norris. He's an awesome dude. He gives a lot of good feedback. But coming back to hologram nunchucks. So what's your process of learning how to implement a feature that you don't know about, anything about? Hit the dock. So I'm going to use this example. So I'm not going to pull up my dev environment because right now it's just like, oh, it's going to be too many clickety types. But I'll use something for you guys as an example. So, and you could learn more about it. So in this like project we're going to build on the Tuesday stream, at some point we're going to implement the grid. I don't want to build a grid from scratch because I want to have a lot of complex functionality that is going to take me a year to build myself. There's something called AG Grid for React, which somebody already built, and you're not going to recreate something like this yourself because it's very difficult. So let me find it here and jump into the thing here. Let me put it on the biggest screen here. 1 second. Yep. So here we go. Talk about how to implement new features that I don't know nothing about. And this idea of POC, like, you know, and POC, like, it has many definitions. It doesn't stand for people of color in our context. Because I'm sure there's going to be someone who's going to jump in this stream and be like, POC? What are you talking about? A POC means proof of concept. How do I know this? Well, I know this not because I just Googled it, but because I Googled it a long time ago, but I'm just showing you. POC is a proof of concept. And so I'm going to talk about how we implement new features to answer hologram nunchucks questions. So if you guys want to take notes, you don't have to because you could always rewatch the stream. So let me share my other screen here. We're gonna Google it Chromie. Here we go. That's how you say Google Chrome when you're hopped up on coffee. So this is AG Grid. It's the best JavaScript grid in the world. And you know what? It's 100% true. Look at how amazing these features are. So you hit React, and it'll bring you to the docs, and it's going to basically, you know, show you the documentations. And what you could go is go into the tutorial just to get started. It shows you how to implement it, like what do you need to implement EJ Grid. And you know, I could literally copy and paste this in my, you know, and put this into my React application, see the application. And then the whole point is you basically figure out what you need your grid to do, you learn more about it, and then you go through the documentation, you read like, well, how does the filtering works, how everything else works. Here's the cool part about this grid, like look, it has draggable components that you don't have to build yourself. And so this is cool, like it has ways to filter stuff, you know, by like, and that functionality is built into this grid, and so you don't have to rebuild it yourself, and so you implement yourself. And coming to this idea, well, how do you know how to implement it, is you build a, you know, a proof of concept, and it's basically like a way for you to test out a feature, a process, a method. And so let's maybe find and so let's look what proof of concept means. I have no idea how to use my computer. Like, how did I even become a developer? This is like insane. Proof of concept. Let me switch on my screen again. So here we go. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's click this other button. Share my screen. So a proof of concept can be used to evaluate the most any educational method, vehicle, or resources. So what I'm going to tell you is basically a proof of concept is a preliminary rollout of a specific program, process, method, principle, model, or feature or idea to demonstrate its feasibility. And that's like, so it means a trial run, a test, what a way of speak, to see if the program idea is achievable and is going to work. So basically what you do, coming back to what is the process of learning how to implement a feature that you don't know how it works, and it's basically you go to the documentations and you learn about the features. That's step one. You go and you hit the documentation, and this is an example of AG Grid. This is something I want to implement. So you're like, okay, I want to implement it in React. So you go to the docs, you go through the tutorial, you learn the basics about it. Once that is done, you open up a code editor and you build your proof of concept. You build the application like idea of how would you implement it in your project. And once you build that POC, you share it with your boss or whoever it is, and you show them, here's a working concept that I built. This is how this would work and fit into our application. And once that POC is approved, even though you are improved, like maybe you approved it yourself because you're just building it for yourself, but still follow this process. And once you see that your POC works, it does what you need to, you implement that branch in your application. So I hope hologram nunchucks that helped. And of course, if you have more questions, you could always ask more questions. That's the point of this live stream. And then we have Ellen. How often do you live stream like this? I do this every Saturday, 6 p.m. US Central Time. And then I just started a new stream Tuesday at 7 p.m. US Central Time, where we talk about building this massive cornerstone project, development project, to help us get to a point where we feel comfortable getting a job. And if you haven't smashed the like button, smash the like button. If you want to participate on our Discord, because you just need a community of like-minded individuals who appreciate doing hard work and building stuff, I'm going to share the thing in the comments and stuff like that. By the way, guys, like a lot of people might be asking, Paul, what gives you the right to tell people what they need to do to get hired? Let's see. I was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA instructor for most of my life. And at 35, I had knee surgery. Like I got to a point where I couldn't lift my arms over my head like that because my body was so busted, and I decided to switch careers. Being 35, older, and it took me until 39 to be able to land my first job because I made all the mistakes that I'm telling you not to make right now. I made all those mistakes. I paid the price. I wasted time. I'm 39. My time means a lot to me because time is something you'll never get back. So what qualifies me to give you these answers, I'm not saying my answers are right, but it's coming from a guy who's, now I'm 41. I'm 41 years old. I'm older. I want to retire at 55. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do it unless I create some sort of business where I'm making massive amount of money, because I made so many mistakes at my younger ages, right? And the point what I'm telling you is that I don't have time to talk about things that are cool, things that like garner more attention and people want to talk about like cars or like drone footage or whatever it is and kind of talk about nonsense is because I don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. You just want to get your job in the quickest point as possible. And we already know that it takes a lot of work. We know that there are certain things we have to do. And I talk about those things on the stream. You need to have your portfolio website. Don't build it yourself, but you need a home for your portfolio. Like I showed many times, you know, get your name. You need to make sure you have a LinkedIn account. You have to make sure, and I'll show you this in a little bit right now because that's your first step. You need to make sure you have a portfolio, LinkedIn account, and you have to make sure you have GitHub. Your GitHub is going to have all the code. If you should be coding every day, working on building projects, building things that are going to work towards your cornerstone project, that's going to be the big project that you put onto your portfolio, and you need to daily put it on your GitHub. And let me show you like what I mean, because this is super important. Let me jump into my GitHub. I'm going to show you all those three things I just mentioned. So if you're a noob starting out, and you don't have these three things, you need to put them. I'm going to give you the sad news right now. Sad news. Here it comes. Sad news. Learning to code is not enough. That's very sad. That's very sad. Because if you just learn how to code and you don't have a portfolio, right? You don't have a resume. You don't have LinkedIn, a place for you to market yourself and talk about your stuff. No one's going to ever see you. No one's going to know you exist, and no one's going to hire you. The worst way to get hired is to just send out your resume with your terrible portfolio. And look, I've done it, and that's how I know it doesn't work. You need to have a great portfolio. You need to have amazing projects. You need to have a well-presented resume, which I'm going to show you guys again. I'm not showing you this, guys, to like toot my own horn. I'm showing you this resume because I had, and let me also bring up my old resume, which basically has same stuff. But it was terrible in terms of like the way it was presented, and nobody was giving me callbacks based on my old resume, even though it looked very similar to, in terms of the information. The information was the same information. And so I'm going to share this with you guys to kind of talk about it. And you're welcome, Hologram Nunchucks. I'm glad I was able to help. But coming back first, let's talk about GitHub. GitHub is your history. Let me bring up my screen here. Is your history of your coding journey. And you need to have it look like this because and let me show you I started GitHub in 2013. I just want to make this clear point, right? I started GitHub in 2013. So I was 33 years old when I started this. And I keep telling you, I started learning to code more seriously 35, 36, but probably around 37. I was like, holy shit, if I want to get a job, I need to really put massive effort. And so you need to start GitHub. Don't make this mistake where it's empty. 2014, nothing. 2015, nothing. 2016, nothing. 2017, still nothing. Do not make this mistake. You need to be building stuff towards your portfolio. You need to be committing all this code here. Most people are not even going to check out your code. DJ Norris is going to go and look into your code. I know that 100%. But most people, they just want to see that you have consistent action that looks that you're coding. Because I'm not going to take your word for it. I'm going to look first, do you have history that you actually code? GitHub is a great way for you to capture that history. So you know what? I don't want to do portfolio reviews. I want to and by the way, I will do portfolio reviews. So if you want me to review your portfolio, let me know. But I'm going to do, you know what, this live stream, if you want to send a link to your GitHub, send a link to your GitHub. And if you want the next stream, see a GitHub link. I'm going to do GitHub and LinkedIn reviews because I've done portfolio reviews. We kind of know what we kind of need. And you could watch my Tuesday stream to kind of show what is a cornerstone project and why it's important to have one big project that may take you 1 month to 3 months to complete. And so I just finished a 6-week sprint on my job. A sprint lasts a week and it's a 40-hour week. So 6 times 40, that's a lot of hours, right? And I built this amazing project, and I can't put it into my resume because that code is, I can't share the code. It's owned by the company that hired me. But the type of project I built, if I show that to anybody else as my resume project, they're gonna be like, Jesus Christ, you know what you're doing. And that's the type of project we have to build. And so it took me 6 weeks of full-time work to get there. And that's kind of what you need, at least one project of that caliber that, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, listen, my GitHub is not perfect. I totally, Big B420, I agree with you. And I need to get a fancy README into your Git. That's my next step. But coming back to this GitHub, and thank you for pointing that out. It shows that I'm not perfect and I'm super lazy, and that's why I didn't edit yet. But look, 2017, I still had nothing. 2018, more effort. 2019, massive effort, because I want to, like, I want this job. I want to get hired, and that's why I started to do this. 2021, massive effort. The reason this is not happening is because in January I got hired. I still kind of made personal project because I felt like I was going to get hired, like fired from my job. And then I was like, when I got here, I was like, I didn't get fired, so let me just focus on my work. And I did. By the time I got here, I was like, shoot, like, I like my job, but I have to start brushing up my skills and building advanced skills to help me to get my next role. And, you know, and then I never stopped. You know, so from February, like now April to August, I'm trying to be very consistent on GitHub to make sure that I am, you know, doing the things that like I preach, like this idea of you need to commit code. You need to have some sort of history. I'm not saying GitHub is going to get you a job. I'm just saying if someone looks at this and it looks like this, if someone comes to GitHub and looks like this, you're not getting a job unless like your portfolio built, which should have some sort of like history, you know, is so amazing. Like you build a time travel machine or something. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing, guys. Like you cannot cheat your way into programming. There's some outliers that get there quicker than others, but you have to understand that it takes work and it takes commitment. Creating with code. Great to see you here. How's everybody doing? Well, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing phenomenal and awesome. And let me check something here. Yeah, and guys, don't be shy in the comments. Like, I am some dude on the internet. I get it. I get that. I know I'm some dude on the internet. I know I give you my 2 cents, 2 points. And you can get your 2 cents, you know, from anybody you want. But look, I have a daughter. I would never tell her something that would like sugarcoat the reality of the situation, because if you love someone, if you respect someone, you're going to tell them honestly what it takes. And I treat you guys with the same respect I treat my daughter and my true friends, is that I would never tell you something that is going to like prevent you from making the progress that you need to get that job. So this is a great project. Ram Zombie, great question. Are all these green boxes different projects every day, or any of their updates they only? It's a mix. And so when I first started out, like a lot of them, so I'll give you an example. A lot of the projects when I first started out, they were like POCs. They're basically proofs of concept. I would try one thing, regardless if I finish it or not, I still get the commit. So there's a lot of the items in my GitHub which are things that I'm learning. I want to try it out, and it's a POC. Let me make a branch, and next day it could be something completely different, and it could be a different project. And then some of my like current stuff. I don't know if you saw like my past like month. Majority of it is coming from 2 projects. It's my Cornerstone project that I'm building to update my portfolio, and then another one is actually my work private repo that the code that I'm committing for work. And here's the thing, guys, like I keep talking about this Cornerstone project, and the reason why I'm telling you this is like we need to make sure that our level of type of code that we write matches the level of the hiring manager, what they're expecting. And so a lot of times I've noticed that people were basing their projects, let's build a blog. Let's build like e-commerce store. Let's build this. Let's build like some doohickey whatever. And all of that stuff is great when you're learning. But once I got hired, like I can't show you the code I'm writing, right? I can't show you exactly the code I'm writing, what project or product I'm building for a company, because they own it. I'm under, like, I will definitely get fired and sued if I disclose that information. But what I could tell you is that, what are they doing? What problems are they solving? Like, what should you know as a developer? Like, if you were to work at my company, you would have the confidence to know that you could do that job. And so what I'm doing is that I am, on our Cornerstone project, we're not building the same project that I'm doing on my job. It's completely different. But the knowledge base that is required to get hired, like that they hired me for this job that I have, is the same thing we're doing on our Tuesday stream, and it's the same thing we're talking about. And so that's kind of like what I'm all about, to be like, look, I'm not basing this experience, maybe like you'll get a job sooner, but what I'm saying, if I'm like kind of deconstructing, instead of being like, what portfolio did I have to build? I'm just building random portfolios until I get hired. I'm doing the opposite. I know what I got hired for to do. And so I'm taking the things that I know and the things that my boss expects from me, and I'm building a portfolio based on that knowledge. So that way, you guys, there's no second guessing. You're learning the exact skill that I used to get my job with this particular company. And so if you have this huge Cornerstone project that gives you that job, then it's awesome. Like, you're going to get hired. Like, let me know if I'm confusing you with what I'm trying to put down here, but that's the fact. Lucky, I'm sorry because I didn't found this channel. Dude, don't be sorry. You're here now, and we're glad to have you. Really appreciate. So how long did it take you hold on, let me put this comment. How long did it take you for you to be comfortable with JavaScript? So that's a great question, something that I struggled for a while, because I was under the impression that you had to not perfect, but you had to be super competent at a programming language to be able to build complex components with like vanilla JavaScript. And what that did, it prevented me from jumping into React. It prevented me from learning new things that I needed to get hired. So here's the thing. The way one of my friends told me, look, once you know the basics of JavaScript, jump into React, right? Once you know the basics of JavaScript, jump into React, right? That's what you do. And I only started making progress once I came to this conclusion, where you just need to do bare minimum of what is required to be able to make progress and have a deliverable. So like, I'll give an example. Let's say I need to build a basic sign-up page. So I'm going to learn enough JavaScript to be able to build that sign-up page with the features that it needs to have, like an input field, bunch of like checkbox, whatever that people click, and it uses JavaScript to save that logic into like whatever in the code. So when I hit send, that data gets submitted somewhere in the back end, right? So just learn enough and then move on to the next thing, like React, and then implement that input form with React and see if you could do it. So I know this sounds confusing, but here's the thing, like, learn just enough to make progress, start learning that new thing. And so that's what I did. I started learning JavaScript, then I started learning React. Here's the cool thing. You get stuck in React because you feel you don't know enough JavaScript. Come back down, learn more JavaScript to bring it up, and then get your React knowledge. So I do this piggybacking, and that's how everything rises now. And like, I don't have 3 hands, but for me, it's like HTML, CSS, it's JavaScript and React. Now there's more things, but here's the thing, like, learn a little bit HTML, CSS, jump into JavaScript, then get into React. My screen is opposite for me, and then just piggyback each one up and up, and just go bam, 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 rather than just spending a year or 6 months in JavaScript not getting anywhere. I hope that made sense. That totally came out all like confusing, but basically what you need to know is push your like what I called it, actively pushing your learning. So if you learning JavaScript, just learn the basics, then learn the basics of React. So let me back up. Learn the basics of HTML and CSS, then learn the basics of JavaScript, then learn the basics of React, and give yourself hard stops. Like, I'm going to spend 1 hour, not 1 hour, but I'm going to spend 1 month or whatever, HTML and CSS. Then I'm going to spend the next month JavaScript. Then I'll spend the next month of like learning React. So that's 3 months. And then after 3 months, I'm going to combine everything together, and I'm going to spend another month or 2 building projects for my portfolio and learning JavaScript, React, or HTML, CSS in the context of building my own portfolio projects. So this is very important for you guys to kind of keep in mind and do stuff like that. And so that's what I would say. And that's kind of how I did it, you know. And so everybody has their own path, but that's what worked for me. And that's something that you guys have to figure out on your own. What works for you? What can you do to be able to, you know, make sure that you're moving forward? But the thing that I would say to you guys, if you're like, here's how to tell if you're not going to get anywhere. If you're studying and you're just doing tutorials and you're maybe spending way more time in JavaScript or more stuff on HTML, CSS, or more stuff on React, and you're just doing tutorials, but you haven't built anything from scratch yourself, you'll never get there. So what you need to do is spend like as little as, like, if you've done one tutorial, like, don't do any more tutorials. Put that tutorial, throw it out, and just start building something from scratch based on what you learned. And then when you get stuck, don't go to the tutorial. You already did the tutorial. You know what you're missing. Go on Google, go on Stack Overflow, read the docs, and use that to work on the thing that you are building from scratch. Once you build like the thing from scratch that is the level of development where you are, okay, then you could do another tutorial. But don't do like 4 tutorials and then at the end of the day have nothing to showcase in your GitHub or in your personal portfolio project. The hardest thing you could do is, not the hardest thing, the worst thing you could do for yourself is not to start building stuff from scratch. You literally have to do stuff from scratch as soon as possible. That is the most important advice that I could give you guys. That's the advice that's going to make the biggest difference in your ability to get a job. I can't stress that enough. That's why I keep coming back to it and talking about it, because at the end of the day, when you get hired, they're not going to, like, you're not going to watch a tutorial at work and then follow the tutorial to build a solution for your job. That's not how it works. You're going to be asked to build something from scratch. So by not building stuff from scratch while you're learning, you're really hurting your progress. And I hope you guys understand that. And just wanted to be like, listen, this is like the way it is. And there's definitely something satisfying about doing a Git push because you're putting something that you built yourself, you know, out there for people to review, for people to view. And that's like super important. And Rob Zombie, great questions. I love the fact that you're engaging with us. I really appreciate it. Did you ever forget the basics of what you just learned because you're actively learning the next thing? Do you recommend taking notes? I don't take notes per se. Like, my notes are my code that I wrote. So what I'll do is for instance, I'll give you an example before I answer this question. I forgot how to implement custom tokens and GraphQL front end, how to hook it up. And so I went back at a previous example that I wrote in my other personal project, and I read it, and then I went to the docs and I reviewed the steps. So my notes are my previous portfolio projects that I built. And that's what I would say. Instead of taking notes, build something from scratch, implement the feature, save it on GitHub, and then a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, you forget what it is. Go to your GitHub, and that's your notes. Your notes is the previous code, and the things that you're missing, at least you know, like, hey, this is what I want to implement. I know I have to go on this website. That's where I find the answer. And so that's how you could remind yourself and reiterate the things that you were learning before and help you to continue learning forward. That's what I do. So I don't take physical notes, but I try things from scratch, and the project that I build ends up being my notes to refer back to. And Big B420, if you already know HTML, CSS, landing pages, would it be a good idea to peek at other people's Git and copy the repo but make some changes or major changes? What I would say for you, instead of that, if you already built some HTML, CSS landing pages, like now, and I'm assuming you didn't integrate any JavaScript, figure out how you could add some JavaScript functionality to your current HTML and CSS landing page that you already built. And once you get to that point where you add some basic JavaScript, go ahead and recreate that same landing page you already built with React. You know what I mean? And so you're constantly trying newer technologies. You're constantly learning enough to make that happen. And then once you do that, you build in HTML, CSS, you build in JavaScript, you build in React. Now, see, okay, I build the landing page. Now let me build a home page with these functionalities and do the same thing. Build it out with HTML, CSS, add some basic JavaScript, and then go ahead and build it with React. So what I would say is constantly you like work on your own code base. Work on your improvement, like continuous improvement, and you could go and look at somebody else's project to see how they did it, and then to understand it. But don't think of it like you're copying their code. Think about it like you're looking to see how they solve the problem, and then you're thinking about it, and then you're trying to figure out, is that solution like the best? How would you do it differently? And then implement it in your own code. But the idea is that you should constantly be writing your own code, implementing your own solutions, because that's how you get better. Hey, Paul, what was the hardest thing about React when learning, and what did you do to get better? So the hardest point about React was when people kept telling me that I needed to do Redux. And then learning React with Redux made it so complicated that I didn't make any progress. So what I would say, that was my number one and the hardest mistake, is that I didn't realize you don't need to learn Redux when learning React. You could be fine without Redux. And actually, if you don't know the problem that Redux solves, you don't need to have it, right? Especially now with hooks, things are easier, and they have context API now. It's way easier. And learning React in general is way easier because now everything is a functional component. But to answer your question, besides of learning Redux early, the second most complex thing that I had to get my head around is using class-based components and using the this keyword and knowing how to bind this in the right context to make sure that the code works. But now it's not an issue unless you're working on older code base, which might be a fact. But right now, if you're starting learning React and you're learning to jump into it, you're going to be working on functional components. You're going to be working on all the new stuff that make your React development much easier. And you could always circle back, and like you definitely have to learn class-based components, even though you would never write one in the majority of the projects unless you're working on an old project. To give you an example, when I started my job, like my first job, everything was a class-based. I actually refactored everything into functional components just to show you that in a lot of cases, you're going to be writing the new modern React and JavaScript. But classes and this keyword was the hardest thing, and it's still one of the harder concepts for people to grasp when working with vanilla JavaScript. And that is still the hardest thing for me with vanilla JavaScript, something that took me a while to understand. But once I got it, it started making sense. But at the same time, like, listen, there's always so many things to learn, and the complexity of the problems that you have to solve will increase, so things will get hard again. So there's never that level where you just feel confident all the time. There's always things. Hey, what's up, Tex Rally? You should move to Texas so I could call you Tex Rally. Come back to Texas. Who cares about New York? New York, whatever. But Tech Rally, never late to the party. We're still here. And are you sure it wasn't someone telling you to learn Next before React? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I would never ever tell someone learn Next before React anyway. You still need to learn React first. And by the way, guys, learning to code is it's not like you just get to the place you get to and all of a sudden you're there. It's constant learning. And like I asked one of my senior developers, I'm like, bro, does it ever get easy? He's like, no, because as you become, like, you go from junior to mid-level to senior, you're going to be asked to solve harder problems. And the point why they're asking you to solve a harder problem is because the solution doesn't exist yet. And then it's up to you to come up with a solution. So it's always going to be hard. It's always going to be difficult. So you got to keep at it. Here's the thing I wanted to tell you guys about development, though, that I kind of, yes, the struggle is real. It's very hard. You have to do massive effort to get there. If you missed all that stuff that I harped about at the beginning of the stream, just come back. Like the stream, by the way, if you guys in here just joining in, because it helps other people to find the stream. And if you appreciate the community and you appreciate everybody in the comments, just smash the like button, show the love. And if you hate it, like, that's fine. Like, it's a free country. I'm just telling you, how it is and what we did it. But here's the thing, why I went through the struggle and never gave up learning to code, because I believe that one day, and again, just like water, it will never boil until it hits like 100 Celsius. So you might be like trying to boil water at 50 degrees Celsius, it'll never boil. Same thing with coding. Your portfolio might be at this level, and if you never get it to this level, you'll never get a job So the idea that I'm trying to say, like, yes, there's a lot of effort that it takes, but here's the thing why I never quit coding, why I continue to pursue, continue to roll, to learn, to continue to try to raise my skill, especially because I for me to get hired was the hardest thing to do. Like, it took me 4 years to get my first job. You know, it's a long time. Hopefully it'll take you much sooner to get there. But once I got the job, my next job was even better. And like, here's the thing, no one can take that away from me now, right? Unless I die. Okay, let's say that. Unless I die, I die. But the knowledge that is here, the skill that I developed, being able to program, no one could take that away. And if I continue to grow that skill, I will actually get to that point where I'm hireable and continue to grow, where getting a job now becomes much easier. I'm at a point where recruiters are starting to connect with me more frequently with job opportunities. So it does become easier eventually. And the reason why I tell you this is how amazing this concept of coding is that once you know what you're doing, once you know how to do it, once you're at a position where you are, you know, got to the point, past the boiling point, like your recruiters start contacting you, and they will get there. Just don't give up. You will always be hireable. Think how ridiculous it is. Like, I got mugged at gunpoint a bunch of times, but the last time I got held up at gunpoint, they took my money, they took everything. Thank God they did not shoot me and kill me, because that would have took everything away. They took my money, they took my personal possessions. I had no money in the bank, and I was just disappointed. I was hurt. And at that point, because it was in my earlier time when I made a lot of mistakes, I didn't have a good hireable skill. I suffered. Like, I couldn't pay my bills. I couldn't make enough money, like, to do anything, and it was a real struggle. But learning to code, imagine if I was in the same situation and I had this ability to code, I had this hireable skill that was in demand, that was able to position me to get a high-paying job. If I got held up and they didn't kill me, please, that would be terrible. I love life. But if I lost my money, I lost my physical belongings, but the skill to be able to get a job, the skill to be able to have this opportunity to go anywhere, whatever, New York, California, Texas, put my resume and get a job. That's amazing. That's why I don't give up coding, is because I will never be at a point, if I continue to improve my skill, that I won't have the ability to make money. And yes, at the beginning you start making not as much money, and eventually as your skill increases, you will make more and more and more and more. And the reason why I tell you this is that you could literally go to another country with nothing in your pockets, no backpack, nothing to declare, and have the knowledge to be able to get a job in that country if the job is available. Like, if you go to a place where there's war-ridden country, like people's just suffering, there's nothing people suffer there, you will suffer there. But let's say all things being good, you go to America, you go to Canada, you go to England, you go to whatever, and that if the opportunity exists, and maybe you get, if you're good enough, you can get a remote job. No one could take that away from you, and that's amazing. That is amazing to kind of know that. And so, yes, it would take me 3 years, 4 years to get to where I am today, but I can't undo it. I can't go backwards. I have the skill, I have the knowledge, and it's only getting better because I continue to learn, I continue to build things. And that's why I keep telling you guys, right now, you might not be at a point where you're getting hired, but continue through the struggle, continue putting in the work, keep doing what it takes, and you will get there. And once you get there, you might lose your money, you might, lose whatever, but you will always have the skill, the ability to make more. It's that the whole thing, teach a man or woman to fish type of deal. And that's what coding is. It teaches you how to fish. It gives you this hireable skill that you're going to be able to do. And it doesn't have to be coding. There's other things. But if you're watching this because you're interested in coding, that makes sense. And let's look at the comments here. Tech saying, hey to all his fans in the channel. Fantastic. I'm learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for about 8 months, for example. I have no idea how to make image slider. I'm stupid or what. No, bro. That's how I felt. And you know how you get better? Stop doing tutorials and start build 3 sliders. Start building those components from scratch. And as an example, that's kind of like what I did. I had the same problem. I'm like, I don't know how to build a, thing from scratch. So like I went and CodePen. It doesn't have to be CodePen. You could do any like other thing else. Like, you know what I mean? Let me share my screen here. And I built this slider, you know what I mean? Like that iterates through an array and it shows that data, and then you could do random. So like I built that component and then built bunch, but I like now I know how to do it, and I built this from scratch based on reading how to build tutorial, like the slider, watching a bunch of tutorials. Then I turned those tutorials off. I went and I built a slider, and then this is not the only slider I made, like build 2, 3, whatever. I'll show you another one. Instead of that type of slider, I made an image slider, and it looks like garbage. I'm not going to lie to you, but what I say to you guys is, you should be able to build those things from scratch. Once you learn how to do that, here's the image slider that I built. You click an image and it switches the image. You see very tasteful pictures here, and then you can't see the next buttons that clearly because I didn't style them nice, but once you get to the end of the slideshow, the slide button disappears. You could click here, but you could also select separate images here. You see, guys? So build that component, build it from scratch, and that's how you get better. Like build 2, 3 components from scratch on your own until you got the confidence that you can know how to do it. And then the cool thing, like I was saying earlier, before, I was saying this idea, like, look, once you build the stuff, that code becomes your notes. So if you forget something at a later time, you could refer back to your own code that you wrote from scratch based on the project that you built, and that's going to, remind you of how to do that thing that you did. You know what I mean? Words of wisdom. I'm going to give you words of wisdom, guys. So, because we're getting like to the hour-and-a-half mark almost, and Big B for 20, said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it so scary." Yes, it was scary. I'm going to tell you, we all make mistakes. I'm going to tell you this mistake that I made in the time I got held up at gunpoint that none of you guys should make, because they could have shot me. And I think like nobody wanted to go to jail for a long time. That's why they didn't kill me. But this is a mistake that I made, and I could tell you this story now because I'm alive, and don't ever make this mistake. But this was like the first time I got held up at gunpoint. I was at the place where I had no money. I'm going to the bank, and I want to get $20 because I want to eat. I want to go shop, like go to the store, buy some food for myself. So it wasn't like $20, but it was the last 20 that I was trying to keep. I took out, $60 to go, and I'm going out. And by the way, never go to a bank 2 a.m. in a shady neighborhood, because I used to live in Hartford back in the day. If you don't know Hartford, it's just very like a lot of violence there, just as bad as other violent cities in the United States. Like I'm sure like in other countries things are even more scary, but the chances of getting robbed at that time are pretty high. And so I go to the ATM, and there's so many clues. Like number one, don't go to the ATM at 2 a.m. By the way, if you go to an ATM when you see some random sketchy dudes walking around, just drive by and don't stop. So I go to the ATM, I withdraw my money, and I'm walking out of the ATM, and I see somebody's walking towards me. I'm like an idiot. I'm assuming they want to go into the bank, withdraw money. So I hold the door out to them. They take out a gun, they put it to my stomach, and they're like, "Give me the money." And I'm like, I'm about to punch this guy out, which is another stupid thought. Why would I try that? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just, because he put the gun to my stomach, then he kind of put it back to hide it because we were in the middle of a street. And so I was like, oh, this guy's about to get it. And it was just the stupidest thing that I could have done. But, as soon as like that thought came, I'm like, oh, he's going to get it. I heard someone behind me be like, don't even think about it. Like the guy figured out I was going to try to do something dumb that probably would have got me shot for sure. And so I didn't do it, right? And so I'm handing in my money, and the guy grabs the money that I have, and he's trying to pull it. I'm like hesitating. I'm hesitating to give my money. And then as he pulls the gun out and puts it to my stomach again. And this is what I said to him. This is a mistake. Do not make this mistake. 100% you're going to get in trouble. I said, I'm being mugged at gunpoint, and I go to the guy, can I at least keep a 20?
I asked the robber if I could keep $20. He looked at his friend. He looked at me. They were kind of shocked because I guess nobody ever asked if they could keep a 20 while being robbed. He took the gun out, put it to my head, walked me to the ATM, and told me to withdraw more money. And um, yeah, I tried to withdraw more money. Obviously, I had no money left at that point, and they kind of told me to get on the ground, run away. Thank God I did not get shot. But that was like a very stupid mistake. And this is like the idea where, like mistakes, we all make them. And that was a crazy story to tell you because we're at that 1.5 hour mark. And so sometimes it's nice to share these crazy stories. When people mug you, just give them what they want. Give them that. Like last time, like I got mugged, I just gave my wallet. I laid on the ground. I'm alive here, which is lucky always. But the point is, it's like give people what they want. That's it. And with that. But so the reason I tell the story, I'm stupid. I make a lot of mistakes. And that's the whole point of this channel now for you guys. I made so many mistakes on my coding journey that I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes. And that's why I talk about, this is what worked for me. This is why I did it. And that's why I try to be honest with you guys to make sure that you guys taking the steps that are actually going to move the needle closer to getting that job. And by the way, if you guys did not smash the like button on this amazing live stream. I don't know if it's amazing, but you guys are amazing. Smash it because you guys are amazing. Smash the like button. Let other people know that this stream is awesome. Yeah, I am. That story is funny now because I'm here, and also because I was dumb and stupid. Don't ask for change when you're getting mugged. That's the moral of that story. Wow, this is a terrible thing to go through. Good on you for being persistent in your journey to continue with life after that experience, let alone code and succeed. Very inspirational. Yeah, that's a great point that Rob you make, is because the way I look at life is like this. Look, life to me, it's like it could always be worse and it could always be better. And the one thing that I know, if something terrible happens to me, I could continue, I could be consumed by it and I could just give up and I could just be like, it's not worth it. It's too hard. It's too difficult. I can't move on. And then, not try anything new. But I switched my thinking to this new idea that I have. And this is something that I would say you guys should, if you don't think like that, try it. So here's my new way of thinking. Let's say all that stuff happened to me. I would still be like, I'm going to try to be a developer. And then you'll be like, but you might fail. You might not succeed. And then my answer to that would be like, but what if I do succeed? So I just focus not like, oh, you're going to fail. I think about, but what if I don't fail, right? And that's how I think about it. So now I'm like, I'm going to learn development stuff. It sounds like, oh, you're going to fail. I'm like, but what if I don't? Or I'm going to learn how to do this particular thing. But why if you fail? But what if I don't? I think on the positive now and I keep moving forward. And you know what happens? The reason why you fail is because you stop. But if you don't fail, you will eventually get there. The one caveat being to that is that you try to get into the field that you have no interest in. You have no desire to learn. You have no passion for what you're doing. And you're doing it for, some other reason. And it could be money. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing something that you hate, it's going to be very hard for you to view it in a positive light where you're going to be motivated to continue doing it. Because motivation doesn't last. So you have to kind of like the journey and to do that. But now for me, it's like every time someone says you're going to fail, I say, but what if I don't? I just focus on positive. But here's another reason. Another thing is, some people say what's the point of doing this thing if never will happen, you fail. I know where I am now. Let's say I'm not striving to get better. I know how bad my life was when I didn't have nothing. I know how you will always be there. You know what I'm saying? So if you refuse to step out of your comfort zone and try new things, you will always have that dead-end job. You will always have that mindset of not growing and not improving. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to be just happy with the basics, the average. I could watch some Netflix to make myself feel better. I could play some Modern Warfare to make myself some COD, whatever. But I'm still in the same place. You could work at McDonald's for 1 year or 10 years. You're still working at McDonald's, right? You could work at McDonald's for 1 to 3 years. And in that process, you're learning how to code. And then in 3 years, you get a coding job. You're not working at McDonald's anymore. And that's the thing that I tell people, you got to continue to have pride in yourself and not give up on your dreams, and to know that nobody owes you anything. You don't owe me anything. Like, you don't have to subscribe to this channel. You don't have to like my videos. Like, you know, you don't owe me that. You don't owe me that. Like, I don't owe you anything. Nobody owes anybody anything. Right? That sounds pretty depressing, but that's reality. Like, in majority of times, like, you're here because you want to be here, and you're getting enough value from what I'm doing here that you are justified to liking this video or subscribing to this channel. But that value that you're getting from me, you're getting it from the effort that I put into this YouTube channel. You're getting it from my hard work. I'm earning that like. I'm earning that subscribe. And if you don't feel the value I provide is enough, you're not going to watch this channel. You're not going to like and subscribe. It's the same thing when you're looking to get a job as a development. You have to earn that right to be in a position to get hired by having the skill, having the portfolio, and having the things that you need to do. And that's the truth. And so, like, you'll never be able to get anywhere in your life if you didn't earn it. Maybe, like, that's why stealing is exciting. You know, like, you steal something and you're like, but even that is work. You know what I'm saying? So you're never going to get anywhere unless you earn the right to do it. And that's kind of like the point of this channel and what we do. And my pride would probably get me hurt in that situation. But you're right. Yeah, you know, and sometimes we have to put pride aside. Listen, I'm Russian. I'm a proud, thick-headed Russian. And, like, sometimes, like, you know, my pride will get the best of me. But being 41 now, I realized that the best skill that you have is to be able to step out of yourself and take a realistic look at yourself and be like, look, the things that I'm doing are not getting me to where I want to go. Why is it? And don't make excuses for yourself. Don't be like, well, Bob did it in 3 months, or she must be, Joanne must be lucky because she did blah, 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 blah. No, like, literally, when I took a look at myself when I was younger and I didn't have money, Paul, why don't you have any money? Why are you always broke as hell all the time? Well, because I don't know how to treat money, and I don't know how to save money, and I spend all my money. It's not the fault of my parents. It's not the fault of my friends. It's my actions. I took a look at myself and I was like, look, if you want to make money, you need to learn how to treat money with respect, and you have to save always part of the money you make. And people will be like, but then I won't have any money to live on. Well, then you have to develop a skill that will allow you to make a higher income that allows you to meet your basic needs, but you still have to save. Same thing with development. I was like at a point where I wasn't getting a job. Took a look and said, why, Paul, are you not getting a job? Your portfolio sucks, Paul. Plain and simple. Or even worse, like, Paul, you suck at coding. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just the truth. You need to learn more by building stuff from scratch so you get that confidence. Building things from scratch in programming is what gives you the confidence to say that you know how to code, because you build it from scratch. It's like it proves to you that you know what you're doing. Or your portfolio sucks. Take a look at your portfolio. Don't be like, oh, this is an amazing portfolio. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to decide if your portfolio is good, if you're good enough at coding. Like, the person that is hiring you gets to decide that. And if your portfolio, if they're not happy with it, your portfolio sucks. You have to redo it. You have to rebuild it. Like, when my fiance met me, I know I'm awesome. I'm the greatest guy ever in the whole world. Like, come on, look at me. I'm the greatest person in the world. How can you not like me? Right? There's plenty of girls that saw me like, you're not the greatest person ever. Get the hell out of here. I'm not going to date you. Like, my fiance had to decide. She made the decision. Is Paul good enough for me, you know, for me to, like, be engaged to him and say yes? You know what I mean? And that's the same thing. When you're building a portfolio, you don't get to decide if it's good enough. You need to build something that's on par for what hiring managers expect. And that's, like, plain and simple. And that's the truth. One cannot control their situation, but one can control their attitude. In other words, don't plan too much because life happens. Yeah, and just like you said, I can't control other situation, but I could control how I respond to this. Like, someone could look at my portfolio and say, it's complete garbage, you shouldn't be a developer, you suck, and I could be like, yeah, you're right. Or I could be like, you know what, that's an opinion. I know what I have to do, and I'm just gonna continue moving forward. And so that's the thing, is like we can't let others drive our progress, even though we don't have control over what they tell us. Like, I got rejected so many times. I can't like control what they say at the interview after like I don't do well, but I could control how I respond to it. I could go home and I could take a look at it and be like, look, I didn't do a good job because I didn't know how to answer this question. Let me learn how to answer this question. Or they looked at my portfolio and they felt that it wasn't on par. What can I do to improve my current project to make it like in a way that people take it more seriously? And that's what you do. That's what you do. What motivated you to start coding from jiu-jitsu field, and why coding? Well, coding is because, so here's like, this is a great question. I'll tell you, Alan, like my story. So when I worked as in a jiu-jitsu, I did it for almost 20 years now. And it was my dream job. And for a while I had my own martial arts school and I was making a great amount of money. I always liked coding though. I always was a technical guy, so I always tried stuff on my own, and so I knew the interest was there. But the reason why I quit is for many reasons. Number one, a brick and mortar business, it's like you have a location that you have to manage employees. It was a lot of effort. And my father lives in Moscow. My fiance is from Thailand, so she has family in Thailand. So having a business, I could not just go visit my fiance's family in Thailand when I wanted to, or go to Russia. So like, or why if I get hurt at jiu-jitsu, like I was getting too many injuries, and I knew that if I continue doing jiu-jitsu, by age of 45, my arms won't work. I had like a knee surgery, which was huge, took me out of commission for a year. I have a bunch of other aches. So I realized that sustaining my career in jiu-jitsu, even though I loved it so much, it was physically going to hurt me, and I wouldn't make it past the age of 55. I would literally have to be in a wheelchair. And so what I decided was, you know what? I'm going to basically, decide a path to change myself to the job that I want. I want to be able to work remotely if I have the opportunity. And I didn't even know COVID was going to happen at the time. I realized if my dad gets sick in Russia, I want to be able to go to Russia, spend 2 months, 3 months in Russia with him to take care of him, and still be able to work abroad, because of my high skill as a developer, or my company allowing me to be able to, work remotely. And then when COVID hits, that ruined so many jiu-jitsu and gyms, like businesses, that a lot of them went out of business. And so having this skill as a developer, like gives me this added protection of this ability to always be able to work remote. And that's kind of why I never stopped and continue. But the motivation comes from the fact that I really enjoy it. I always liked it. I just didn't know I liked it because my life was, consumed by jiu-jitsu. New questions always. I build projects for my portfolio. Where's the best place to buy one domain's name? I assume send a link from that. I wouldn't look very professional, right? So you could do that. Like I basically like have a WordPress website. So I host it on Bluehost. So I buy my domains from Bluehost, but you don't have to do that. Some people like GoDaddy. I don't like GoDaddy. Like a great place to buy domain names is from Namecheap.com. So go to Namecheap.com and you could get your domain name there. So that's another place I buy a lot of domains. Just because I used to do a lot of WordPress stuff, when I did marketing, like I got used to using Bluehost. So I buy all my domains from Bluehost if I want to point something to a project of mine that I want to have a custom domain name. So that's what I do. And not a new question, personal preference. And that's I remember a cool Polish guy told me to code in 2020. It's okay, I'm here now. And you know what? We've all been there. I showed you my GitHub in 2013. And it's kind of when I decided that I wanted to be a programmer. And I didn't make anything out of it or treat it seriously until I was in like my late, like 36 years old of age, and continue on. So the point is, like, we have to stop putting off our dreams and our goals and start putting in the work. But at the same time, we all do it. I did it. You did it. And hopefully by me constantly talking about that stuff and you're partaking in this community, we all get to a point where we're like, you know what? This is the work I have to do. And this is kind of like what it is and what it needs to be done, and you kind of start. But the later you start, the harder it is. And that's something that I'm still learning. That I tell my daughter, I'm like, look, when your parents tell you like you have to do this, 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 and that, they're not telling you because they're being jerks, so they just want to tell their kids what to do. It's because they're older than you. Maybe they didn't make the best choices they did. Maybe they did. And maybe you have them as role models, and that's amazing. But if you don't listen and you wait, and now you're in your 40s like me, you realize that, damn, they knew what they were talking about, and that I should have took that more seriously. But you know what? It's never late. Not never late. It's better late than never. And so you guys are here now, and I appreciate all of you guys in this community. And this is kind of like it. Like, here's what I'm going to tell you. And I think about all this stuff all the time. It's like, we could always say, like, I wish I started earlier. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. But the point is, like, if you don't do it now, then you'll never do it. So don't ask, like, oh, I wish I started this many years ago. Just do it now. Do it now. You know, like just start and don't stop. And that's the secret. Don't stop. I gave up jiu-jitsu completely. I gave that up because I needed to have time. I gave up a lot of stuff to make time for my coding. And you have to sacrifice. We all have 24 hours in a day. And of course, you all heard this, cliche. We all have the same 24 hours of the day. And the difference is, how do you spend your 24 hours and how I spend my 24 hours. Like, majority of my time I spent coding. Like, there's this, let me see if I have this app. I forgot what it's called. Wacka something. Let me track. VS Code, time. There's some. I forgot what I use. I haven't checked it in a while. Let me log into VS. Wacka time. There's this thing called Wacka time. Let me go to their website. And it basically, like, is a great way to see like how much time do you spend coding, like actual coding in front of your computer. And it's very important to make sure you're doing the work. Like, the thing is that I want to say to you guys, like, yeah, I appreciate all you guys watching my YouTube channel and watching other videos, but you have to ultimately understand that what really matters is how much time you spend in front of your development thing coding. You know what I'm saying? So I like Wacka time because it helps to track hours spent. And I'm going to show you something, guys. So this is where, like, yeah, I'm some dude on the internet. You don't have to listen to me. But I want to share with you something. Again, I'm not doing this to, like, what's the word, like, toot my own horn or like what have you. It's, wow, this looks so small. Look at my tiny head. Look at my tiny head. Look at my huge head. So the thing that I want to show you here, guys, is that, let me zoom in here. Last 7 days of coding, I spent 30 hours, and it tracks your time spent of actual time coding. Today I didn't code at all. And it basically shows the tech that I use. I mostly use JSX, basically because I work with React. I write some JavaScript, so I wrote 20 hours of React code, 7 hours of JavaScript, and a bunch of other stuff. And so I track my time. And the point I'm trying to make is that, and this is not paid version, so I don't think I could show like a month, because I think it only tracks the last 7 days. But to give you an idea, it's like, look, I sacrifice. Like, some of this time is part of my work, but a lot of that time, like, is also like my own time. And it's not like counting meetings, it's not counting other stuff. Like, and so that's just hours spent typing at the code editor. And that's why I tell you guys, when people tell you coding is easy, it's not. You got to be building stuff from scratch, and you got to be putting time. And actually, if you guys follow my channel, go ahead, set up Wacka time. They have a free version. I'm using their free version. Connect it to your VS Code. Because, like, if people start telling me, look, I can't get a job, I can't do this, I'm going to ask, show me your portfolio. and show me your whack of time, show me your GitHub, show me like what you're doing, um, to make progress. And if this is like I spend 1 hour of coding in 7 days, and then your GitHub is empty and you don't have a portfolio, what am I supposed to tell you? Except I'm not surprised that you're not able to get anywhere. And that's like the reality and the truth of the situation, of the things that we have to talk about, and put things into perspective, that it takes work. And and this is coming from a guy who, like, yeah, I'm on YouTube, but my goal is not to be a YouTuber. My goal to be the best programmer I could be. And so I focus on programming. And I tell you this because you guys want to get into development. And my channel, I don't care if it gets 1 million subscribers. I care about that the people that do subscribe for it, I'm helping them by telling them not to make the mistakes I made, and telling them the reality of the situation, the truth of the situation, to make sure I'm not wasting your goddamn time. I don't want to waste your time. I want you to get to your job as quickly as possible. And I know my content is not going to be popular because people like weird, cool videos with great stories, like images popping everywhere, drone footage, like me being like, I got, like, like, I don't want to make that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm an animated person and I will want to entertain you a little bit, but at the same time, I'm doing this in a way to tell you guys, but do these steps to get hired. And I'm going to keep telling you to do that stuff. Like, people tell me, Paul, you keep telling us the same thing all the time, because those are the things that work. And that's why I keep telling you guys. And I'm going to keep repeating them until all of you guys get jobs and get hired. So Ray J, I'm 39. I'm just starting to learn HTML and CSS. Hope it's not too late to master this stuff. The goal is to learn enough code to customize and feature WordPress websites for clients. Yeah, you're not too late, and definitely continue doing it. And the cool thing about, since you're doing with WordPress, you don't need to master it. You just need to know the basics and start playing around. And that's definitely a great place to start. That's where I started learning stuff, is to customize WordPress with HTML and CSS. So you're not too late. And if you ever have questions, definitely let us know. I'd love to help you. So the most complex projects that I made, I do have it now, but I would have to set up my whole development environment. And that's something that I talk about on our Tuesday stream. By the way, if you want to see it, actually, you could watch my, I'll have to see, hold on, let me see. I'll share the link to my last stream that kind of shows part of the project. And we also talk about, in that stream, talk about what like defines a complex project. So it's a great stream to rewatch. Your channel, your videos. What would ads, 1 second. So if you guys missed the stream, this is a great way. I do showcase one of the complex projects. It's not finished, but I talk about everything you need to do. And the most complex project I built, to be honest with you, is the one I just completed, at least the first version of it for my job. And we're going to model our Tuesday project, not in terms of exactly what I built, but in terms of kind of the stuff you need to know to be able to get a job. We're going to model in that stream. So I just put the link. You don't have to watch it now. Maybe the link will disappear. So copy the link, save it somewhere else. But this is, I'll also show you where to find it. If you go to my YouTube channel, oh, damn it, I went the wrong way. Yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, let me screen share here. And oh my God, why am I zooming in? I don't want to zoom in. What is it doing? Yeah, it's going to be in one of my uploads, and it's the Project Party Tuesday livecast number 1. And it talks about kind of like what the recent complex project I'm working on and what I'm doing. And let's see here. Oh, I forgot where I put the comment. Yeah, what is my most Jesus Christ, you can't see anything. What is my most complex project that I made at home? And basically, I talk about it just like it's something that I'm working on now. It's the most complex project. That's the point that I was trying to make. But I was able to get a job, and so I've been focusing instead of building too many personal projects, is working on the projects that I have at work. And the work project I just completed is the most complex project I built. And I was when I started working at my first job, I realized that the project I just built, which has like a certain level of complexity, like if someone didn't know how to build this, or like 80% of it, it would be very hard for them to feel comfortable at their first job, because those are all the skill sets that you need to know to build a project. But the basic idea is that your project has to have this idea of a user. Your user should be able to sign into your application, and they should be able to perform certain tasks like create something, like look at something, update something, or delete something. So they could add stuff to a database, they could get that stuff from the database, they could delete their own posts, they could look at other posts, and that type of, and that's not even most complex. But like the idea is that you application will have many moving parts. Maybe you'll have something that happens on one page, and then the stuff that happens on one page needs to happen on another page, and you need to be able to know how to manage the state to make sure when you make change in one place, it automatically gets updated in the other state. And then you need to be able to get data from an API, which is connected to a database. So that's just kind of in a nutshell. There's a lot of stuff. So I would suggest like to look more about it. Check out that first live stream, and then my Tuesday 7 p.m. US Central Time is a stream just talk about building that complex project to get you hired, and that's what we're doing. And yeah, no, I'm glad that stuff that I'm telling you helps. That's fantastic. And by the way, what we're building, you still think about it. What we're building on the Tuesday night stream, we're building a developer management system that allows them to manage their portfolios, share their portfolios, upload other portfolios, and that's for our first feature. But then the next feature will be like and comment on portfolios. But the next feature will be to have some sort of tracking mechanism where you could kind of set like steps that you need to complete, like like manage your project, manage your portfolio as you're building it. And so that's what we're building on that stream. It's going to be a pretty complex app, and it's going to probably take us 2-3 months to finish, but that's okay. You know, we'll start slowly work for it. And again, Alan, what time do I live stream again? Saturday, it's always 6 p.m. US Central Time, and then Tuesday, it's 7 p.m. US Central Time. So I'm always here, regardless of how many people join, because to me, I'd much rather be consistent with the messages and what we talk about. And I do notice that a lot of people join much later on the Saturday stream. So maybe I'll do another survey to see if the 7 p.m. is a much better time for everybody. And then we'll go from there. But I'll probably keep the time the same. You know, but guys, you know, if you want to chat with each other outside of live streams, we do have a, you know, a Discord channel. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link to our Discord channel. Go ahead and join Discord if you like. And I only post links to Discord during live streams because I only want people to go to my Discord, are people who participate in the discussion. They talk during the live streams, and I want you guys to engage with other people in our Discord and stuff like that. So I only want to get people that are actually interested in doing the stuff and committed to making the progress to getting the work. So guys, you know, I can't thank you enough for all the love that I do get here on this channel. And if you haven't smashed the like button, you don't have to smash it, you know what I mean? But I just want to say I am so amazed by you guys as a community. We have everybody here is so positive, so awesome. And like, I'm a dude on the internet that's talking about my journey as a developer, but you guys are what gives this community life. You know, your support. And so I can't I can't thank you enough for you guys being who you are and being here on this like live stream and supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me, and I hope that I will continue to live up, you know, to your expectations. And give you valuable content, because at the end of the day, I want all of us to succeed. I want all of us to get our development jobs, improve ourselves, continue to grow, and get to where we are happy doing the things that we enjoy and the things that we love. And I can't thank you enough, because I would never exist on YouTube if that wasn't the case. And you guys are all super awesome. And, you know, I just had to kind of put that in there, because every time I chat with you guys, I'm like, wow, this community is awesome. And I want to make sure that as we grow, we continue to be as awesome as you guys are. And with that being said, let's, if you guys don't have any last questions, and if you do have a last question, let me know. Like, let's do like another, 5-10 minutes of like rapid questions. And this is going to be my challenge for you guys. If you have never asked the question yet and you're still with us on the live stream, ask a question. Because I want to engage with you guys. You guys are such an amazing community that, to me, like, I want to hear what you guys say. There's no such thing as a bad comment or a stupid opinion or like whatever. And so, I love, like, look at the love. Thank you for being so honest. You deserve so much more support. Guys, you already give me all the support I need. I will continue making these lives regardless how many viewers I have. So that's at least one thing not to worry about. But I, of course, appreciate all of you. Alan, thank you for your time. I'm watching from other country than US. It's morning here. Alan, where are you from? Morning time, so nice. That's awesome. Let us know where you're from. I'd love to hear where people are connecting with. Logic Indy, you're amazing. Great stream, Paul. Thanks for sharing. With no struggle, there's no success. 100%. And that's what everybody has to realize and understand. That's kind of like the way we make stuff happen. And thanks for the help, Paul. Hey, you're always welcome. Hologram Lunch is always great for your support. Rob, you asked such great questions. It's always great to have you here. And, the questions you asked provide a lot of value to other people. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for being honest about your journey, and that it's normal to feel that coding is indeed difficult to learn. And yes, it is. It really is difficult, and it is really hard. And the reason why I tell people that it's hard is because I don't want to undermine the hard work that it takes to get to where it is. Like, once you're at the top, once you're making $150,000, once you have a nice like job where you're not even coding all the time because you're more of a lead and you're doing more managerial time, and you're able to kind of sail off your hard work in the past 10 years that you've been doing it. Yeah, you could tell people it's easy, but that's a lie. It's because you forgot the reality of the struggle that it took you to get to the point where you are. And that's kind of like what I want to tell you guys. When you try to break in, it takes a lot of effort. I'm from Malaysia. Nice. Malaysia is awesome. I want to visit. I haven't had the opportunity, but I definitely one of the places I want to go. It's 9 a.m. here. Yep. Definitely one of the things and places to go to visit. And so, guys, as always, I really appreciate all your love, all your support. Serbia, nice. My God, 3 a.m. Lucky. I'm more impressed with you now, being 3 a.m. and watching this live stream. I really appreciate it, because 3 a.m. it's one of those times you should be sleeping. But yeah, like, I'm really appreciate all of you guys. And if you join in late and you miss part of the stream, they're always recorded. You always go back and rewatch the stream. So with that being said, as always, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll see you guys either on Tuesday for our Project Party Tuesday stream that I do every Tuesday at 7 p.m. or I'll see you next Saturday. And I'll definitely try to release another video on the YouTube channel, so definitely go back and watch some of the YouTube stuff. With that being said, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day or evening wherever you are, and I hope that everything that you work towards will happen. And with that being said, have a good night, and I'll see you guys later.